Muy buenos días, buenas noches, buenas tardes en el momento que usted esté viendo esta entrevista. I want to welcome you guys to Conversando con Arnold Ciego, visibilizando el aporte Garifuna. Yo me encuentro aquí en Roatan, en Punta Gorda Roatan, y me encuentro en el Centro Cultural Garifuna, que es owned by Audrey Flores. Audrey es una de estas jóvenes garifunas que está haciendo la diferencia. She's making a big impact in the culture, and I've traveled here specifically to meet her. To come to this cultural center to see what is she's doing. So we're gonna let her talk to us. Audrey, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much. Thank you for accommodating me. Thank you for taking my call, my text, helping me to get here. So I'm happy to be here. So how you doing?
I'm good. I'm so glad that you're here, Arnold. One of my favorite parts of working here and doing this is connecting with other Garifuna people like you.
Yeah,
so I'm excited that you're here as well.
Thank you. So I'm gonna listen un poquito sobre you, a little bit about you, who Audrey is. I know a little bit about you, but tell us who you are, and what is that you're doing.
All right. So my name is Audrey Flores. Me llamo Audrey y soy la directora del Centro Cultural Garifuna aquí en Punta Gorda Roatan. I'm the director of the Garifuna Cultural Center here in Punta Gorda Roatan, which is the first Garifuna settlement post-exile, right, in Central America. So that's a big deal. And so, but my parents, I was born and raised in New York. Soy nacida y criada en Nueva York. Pero mis padres son de aquí de Punta Gorda. My parents are from here, they're from Punta Gorda. And so visiting Punta Gorda, it was something we did every summer. So Roatan was not new to me, right? My siblings came here every summer, cada verano visitábamos. But in 2011 is the year that I decided to move. Because my parents always had a business here. Mi papá siempre tenía un negocio aquí. Pero en 2011...
So in este mismo lugar, this place was, what was this before the cultural center?
So this was Flamingo. It was Flamingo Bar and Restaurant. It was the #1 spot on this side of the island. It was always full every weekend, cars lined up. It was a nice spot. So in 2011, the person who was renting the bar and restaurant had to leave. But at that time, I was about 23, 24. And I graduated college in New York, and my sister Nora, she was also, we're around the same age, and it was my sister Nora who said, let's just go to Roatan and see what we could try to find a manager. And como yo estoy así con mi hermana, ella dijo, vamos a Roatan a ver, vamos a hacer por el negocio, total es de nosotros, de la familia. So yo la seguí, I followed her, pero mi idea era simplemente buscar un gerente y regresar a Nueva York.
O sea, que manejara el negocio.
Sí, el bar y el restaurante. Right? So that was my idea. I love New York. At that age, I was a die-hard New Yorker. Like, I couldn't imagine myself living anywhere else besides New York.
Because that's what people are asking. You're doing the opposite of everybody. We all going to New York, to the States, because, life around is hard, but you live in a difference. You came coming here. So that's one of the things that people are asking, why you go here? Why you live in a first world country? You come to a third world country, you know what I'm saying? So that's crazy. We want to know more about that.
I have to say, in retrospect, it was the God and my ancestors working together, because I wasn't moving here. That wasn't my plan, So when I got here, I realized that there was so much that had to be done, and my parents, it's 5 of us, so my parents couldn't leave their life in New York, leave their jobs to come and, here. So I felt compelled to stay and figure out what's going on with our family affairs, el patrimonio de nosotros, yo no quería abandonarlo así nomás. So por eso me quedé. Y al mismo tiempo, ¿quién no va a querer a los 24 años, soltera, sin hijos, ser un bartender aquí en la playa? Come on. So, that was the life, like bartending on this beautiful beach at a beautiful spot. That's what kept me here, honestly. It wasn't the culture, it wasn't nothing. It was just, I was having fun. For the first year that I was here, first 2 years, it was nothing but partying, drinking, everything. And so, por eso me quedé aquí. But in eso, empecé, I started to find my purpose. After 2 years, I was done with, I said, I can't be here selling a beer, and I have a bachelor's degree. I have all this experience. ¿Qué puedo hacer para mi comunidad? Es la pregunta que empecé a pensar, and I couldn't sleep sometimes thinking about what is my purpose. I can't just come and sell beer. Not that selling beer is wrong, you know, but
business is business.
Yeah, business is business. So I started thinking, and then me and my sister, we kept on getting customers who would ask us, well, who are Garifuna people? What does this dance mean? What is your language? What is this? What is that? And nosotros sabíamos que somos Garifuna.
All right, so let me stop here for a second. So you grew up in New York, right?
Yes.
You were born and raised in New York. How was it like as a Garifuna girl, how was it like growing up in New York? Do you have identity problem, you know, seeing all the black people, African Americans, Africans, Asians, and, you know, all kinds of black people? Did you know they were Garifuna when you were growing up?
I knew that I was growing up as a little girl. I didn't know that I was like, the word Garifuna or me identifying as a Garifuna didn't happen until about high school. But what I did notice, like in elementary school, I noticed that my last name was different, but I spoke English. I noticed that my little sisters, they would put them in bilingual class, and as a little girl, I'm like, why? You know, just because her last name is Flores, like, I didn't know, like, but when I got to high school, that's when you start looking at your identity, right? And I noticed that even though my last name was Flores, I started thinking that I was Spanish. Oh, my family's from Honduras, I'm Spanish, so I started wanting or trying to hang out with the Latinos. And I didn't feel, not that I didn't feel comfortable, but I didn't feel like, you know, I didn't connect. And then with the Caribbeans is where I would feel like, oh, y'all eat cassava bread too, and I listen to soca, I listen to reggae. My Caribbean friends would come to my house, and they would be like, Audrey, I thought you were Spanish, because you got this long hair, and your last name was Flores, but I like your vibe, your dad has a Caribbean accent. Who are you? My friends started asking me, who am I? Because I'm a black woman with a Spanish last name, but we Caribbean, the vibe that I carry is Caribbean. So my friends were confused. And that's when I started thinking about who am I as a Garifuna person. Then when I got to college, I minored in Black Studies. So in my Black Studies class, we began to explore Caribbean history. Real, you know, Black history, Mansa Musa, the Mali Empire, and even the Garifuna people. And I had to do a big presentation about Garifuna people. So that's when I started realizing, you know, wow, our culture is really cool. And since then, since college, I identified as a Garifuna woman. Not Latina, not Honduran, not, you know, nothing, but just Garifuna, period. But I still couldn't explain or go into depth about our history until I moved to Roatan. And after being bombarded with questions de quiénes son ustedes, fue cuando yo empecé a hacer preguntas a los ancianos aquí en Punta Gorda, con la familia de mi esposo en Santa Fe. Empecé a visitar a Driga y a ver, you know, cómo hacen todo, y empecé, like, de repente nació esa pasión de saber quién soy yo como Garifuna. You know, I got to know Belizeans, Guatemala, Nicaraguans, and I just became un poco like obsessed with finding out who I was. So in eso, entró un grupo de mujeres. A group of women came to visit the bar and the restaurant at the time. And they wanted to know about the history. So mi hermana y yo empezamos with a presentation, and we had some dancers. Y la mujer dijo, you know what? This is like a cultural center. And we were like, wow, boom.
So that was the thing right there.
I said, thank you, God, thank you, thank you. Esa la pregunta. That was the clarity that I needed. Because he knew that after 4 years of being here, I needed to do something.
Yes.
So that's
something impactful, something that will impact the community. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
So that's when we decided to convert into a cultural center. So once we got that clarity, we said, okay, 2017 is coming, we're going to open up as a cultural center. And we had a horrible reaction first time. People in the community were calling us crazy.
Because you were giving, a big business, lucrative business for this.
Exactly. They told my dad, oh, your daughters are bringing you down. Te vas a quedar sin nada. And it was depressing. At that moment, I wanted to go back to New York. And my feeling was, why should I even be here? No one appreciates it. I want to go back. But something kept happening that kept me here. And what kept me here was the positive response. And that's why I tell people, no tienes que enfocarte en todo lo negativo, porque eso siempre está. The little 5% positivo of people that you impact, it means so much. It no tiene precio. It's priceless. So we began to get donations. We started getting school supplies, clothes, all types of donations. And for me to give it back to my community, it felt so good. It felt so good. And so that's what kept us here. And then other things kept happening. I met a woman who ended up being one of our best friends. And we started co-directing a documentary called Anichigo, which todavía no hemos terminado.
Talk to us about that documentary. Ella está haciendo un documental sobre la cuestión del pueblo Garifuna, porque what's going on right now, there is this period, awakening in the Garifuna in this generation that we're trying to make an impact, we're trying to make a difference. So taking it from that line, Audrey. So you said you minored in Black history in school. But you got deep into the Garifuna history here.
Yes.
What is the most impactful and inspirational part of our history as a Garifuna that has touched you?
The most impactful part of our Garifuna story is that we are not the only Afro-Indigenous culture in the Caribbean. But we are, I don't want to say, I'm not sure, but I believe we are the only ones who were able to successfully resist being enslaved. Therefore, our culture is still alive. I met so many Black people who visited this center who would cry because they heard our story, and they would cry because we still speak our language, we still have our spirituality, we still have our dress, the natural medicines. So many Black people all over the world would love to trace back their roots to their village where they came from and be able to do all that we have. So es un privilegio para nosotros los Garinagu poder todavía tener our culture. And that's what keeps me going, Arnold. Is that our story is a victory in Black history. It's a story that inspires everyone in the world. A story of resistance, a story of people, a resourceful people, strong people. That story needs to be told. That's what inspired me with the documentary. I want us to start telling our story. I was sick and tired of seeing so many, because in research, of course you look for YouTube, Google videos. Every video I saw was someone who's not Garifuna telling our story.
Writing about us, documenting our history. So that's what behind the scene I spoke with Audrey, and she asked me the same question. Why are you doing this? Because I told her we need to start doing our own thing. We need to start documenting our history. We need to start doing what we're doing. Because our kids are coming. Our grandkids, the generation after us. So it's time for us to use the resources we have in our hands to be able to do that. So that's why I admire the work she's doing. So talk to us more about the documentary.
So the documentary is a documentary that's following my sister Nora and I, our journey in reconnecting with our Garifuna roots and moving back from New York to Roatan and connecting with other Garifuna people. So in it, you're going to see how it all started, where it all started, and we introduce the world to other Garifuna people today who are doing great things. So I love it, and the documentary is meant to connect Garifuna people, not just the older generation and the young generation, but also
the nation as a whole.
Exactly, the nation as a whole. So that if you are that Garifuna person who, like me, 15 years ago, you know you're Garifuna, but you just don't know where to start in researching, or you don't know where to start, that documentary is for you, to just help you start your journey in researching more about who you are as a Garifuna person.
Definitely. So how can people help with that documentary? Is it a non-profit documentary that you're doing? Or do you need help? Do you need the help of the community para que te ayuden?
Sí, so ahorita con el documental, with the documentary, it was all self-funded. So me, my sister, our friend Sarah Borealis, Arturo Aguilar, we're the 4 people who really started working on this, and we funded ourselves. They would come here, pay for their pasaje. 3 years ago, we went to Saint Vincent, and were able to raise money through Kickstarter to fund that trip to Saint Vincent, where we did more research, and we presented a trailer at the international, the 6th annual, I think it was, Garifuna Festival, or Heroes Day celebration. And so they have a conference, a Garifuna conference during that time. So right now, we need money to continue editing and also to start looking for outlets to show this documentary. So anyone who would like to support, right now we don't have a Kickstarter page yet, but they can always contact me through the Cultural Center, and we can give them more specific instructions about how they can help with the documentary. So if you got connections in media, if you have money to fund editing, if you know about professional editing as well, we have an amazing team, but we want to take it to the next level.
The next level, definitely, definitely. You're doing an amazing job. So we need to support this documentary. Myself, estoy comprometiendo ahora mismo to support. I will support, con lo que yo pueda. So definitely that is something that, there was a video that went viral a couple of weeks ago. It went viral, but, and that was one of the videos that made me, think, I need to meet this sister, because she's talking truth. Y lo está diciendo de una manera directa. So, we have spoken about earlier, right, about the identity. One of the problems that we face as a Garifuna is this: are we Afro-Latino? Are we Afro-descendant? Are we this? Are we Guatemalans? Are we Hondurans? Are we Garifuna? But you brought this little controversy, because everything now is a controversy. You brought that little controversy about this singer, that she came over here to Honduras to dance Punta, and everybody went crazy, all that stuff. So, you gave us a class, if you will. You told us, tú cogiste un video, empezaste a explicar what is the Afro-Latino, what is the identity, what would be your message to our generation that we're struggling with this identity? Are we a Garifuna? Are we Afro-Latino? Are we Afro-descendant? Are we Guatemalan? What would be your message for these people? For our generation.
It's time for us to be proud and say with that we are Garifuna. Like I said to you before, every black person in the world is an Afro-descendant, right? But every black person, they came from some type of village. Unfortunately, due to slavery, they can't trace back their roots. But us, Garifuna people, are able to trace back our roots. And because of that, that's why I am so adamant about Garifuna people identifying as Garifuna. Nothing against Afro-Latino, but to say you're Afro-Latino, you're completely disregarding our history. We are indigenous people of the Caribbean. When I went to Saint Vincent for the Heroes Day celebration, I met they call them the first peoples of the Caribbean. We are part of those first peoples, los indígenas del Caribe. So you have the Garifuna, you have the Garinagu, you have I met people from Trinidad, I forgot what they're called. But you have these unique cultures. So when you say you're Afro-Latino and you take away the Caribbean history, we're left with like nothing. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why our people lack pride in who they are. Because they get put into this little box of this Afro-Latino person, or this, Afro-Honduran or whatever. the Garifuna story is so deep, it's so rich.
And I don't blame them 100% because one of the problems is que no se nos ha enseñado nuestra historia in school.
No, they haven't.
Here in New York, anywhere you go, they don't talk about history.
No, they don't.
They don't teach about our history. So that's why we cannot take pride in our history because we don't know it. So that's why it is our job
Exactly.
to do it.
And that's why I'm glad you're doing this. And it's like every person who's doing something like this, a positive something in the community, like Arnold was here the other day with Garifuna Cultural
Shout out Arnold.
You know? And so doing that, what that sparks is curiosity and interest. Who are these people? Who are these people? And that curiosity could be sparked in any Garifuna person. Look, it sparked the curiosity in me 10 years ago. Who am I? People asking me who Garifuna people, I'm asking myself, who am I?
Exactly.
But that curiosity is not, you're never going to affect 100% of the world. Pero el 5% that take that curiosidad y lo convierten en una pasión, right? To find out who we are, we only need 5% to change the rest of the world.
Yes. Wow, this is amazing. This is great. So, Cultural Center, where do you want to take this?
Boy, Arnold, the physical location of the Cultural Center is a home for any Garifuna person from anywhere in the world to come back to and be introduced to who they are. I've met so many Garifuna Americans who knew nothing about the culture, and when they come in here and they hear the story and they see this like cassava making tools, it does something. They get so many goosebumps. The ancestors are here in this house. And so any Garifuna person who wants to connect with who they are, I invite you to come and visit us. Because there are certain things you can't just explain. I could talk all day.
But you have to experience it.
It's an experience.
It's an experience.
It's an experience.
Listen, being here this morning, I woke up at 5 a.m. I couldn't continue sleeping. So I came out and I started seeing the water. This is where my ancestors got here.
It does something to you.
1797, April 12th.
Yes.
So from here, then we fuimos por otro lado. Pero this is the Jerusalem of Central America. This place right here.
Yes.
And we're looking at it. So being here, I have to be here today.
Yes.
And I checked my life. Yeah, I checked my life. I was with the kids over there by the water. I got into the water and I started feeling something because this is where my ancestors died.
Yes.
And I'm so proud. I'm so happy to be here, Audrey. And anything I can help with, I'm available. Estoy disponible para poder apoyarte. And I don't know if there's anything else you want to talk to the audience.
Yeah. So the other part of the Cultural Center, which this is my advice. A lot of people, Garifuna people, have asked, well, how can they help their community? And what I'm doing is, in our Garifuna towns, and I don't know if you experienced this, Arnold, I feel like in the Garifuna towns, there is this lack of pride, and the Garifuna people who move and are in the U.S. are the ones like, yeah, I'm Garifuna. And so I asked myself, why is that? So what I'm doing para combatir eso, para combatir ese falta de orgullo que tenemos los garinos, algunos aquí en nuestras comunidades aquí en Centroamérica. That's what inspired me to tackle on the preservation part. And we're starting with Armando, nuestro primer grupo folclórico.
I experienced last night, guys. That was an amazing. We have some videos we're editing right now to put on the program. It was amazing, and the way you explain it, the introduction was really like telling these people who we are. That was, I was like, Arnold, that was so good, and so hablamos un poquito sobre ese grupo cultural.
So eso siempre ha sido mi visión. Cuando yo empecé a promover el centro cultural a los guías, a los tour operadores, I felt angry, Arnold. I felt angry from the reaction. And some of the reaction was, for example, I'm not going to pay you more than $2 per person to see the Garifuna people. And I said to this woman, but you pay $7 to see the monkeys? Or I would ask for a $5 admission fee, and the guy would tell me, oh, but we need at least an $8 commission.
So how can you get $8 if you just getting 5?
I would see my cousins buscando jalón, caminando a las 4 de la mañana con sus tambores, buscando jalón para ir al puerto de cruceros a tocar tambor. Tienen que estar ahí antes de que llegue el barco y se van hasta después. I'm talking from 4 in the morning up until like 6 in the evening. Y están ahí sin sueldo, sin transporte, sin comida. The anger, and now in retrospect, I realized that it wasn't just me feeling that anger. It's some ancestors, because they fought so hard for us to be able to be here in 2021 and still have our culture. And so yo me enojaba with the people in the tourism industry y también con mi gente, porque nadie te está poniendo una pistola en tu cabeza para ir a bailar de gratis bajo el sol todo el día. You know what I'm saying? It made me angry.
Just like that. You can't do that. No.
But yo, since I didn't have experience having this folk dance team, siempre solo era una visión en mi cabeza. Just something, but siempre, and I started doing dances here and there, you know, but it wasn't the same. I didn't see what I wanted to see. I didn't see this group that when they stand up and they enter the room, you know que acabo de entrar, this Garifuna people, this strong, you know, I didn't see that here. So after the pandemic, well, we're still in it, but after we opened, la pandemia me hizo to reflect and think, all right, Audrey, ya tenés la parte to tourism. You know how to sell your culture to the tourists, all right, but what are you going to do now to really impact the preservation of the culture and impact the way it's being shared? And it just started in my heart, I have to do that, the folk dance group. I need to do this. So, por eso I started connecting with people like Arnold, que tiene más experiencia, como Tini que va a venir la próxima semana. Me conecté con otra persona en Santa Fe que va a venir también para enseñarnos. You know, y poco a poco Dios y los ancestros nos está guiando. And Arnold, you saw the group yesterday. It was the first performance we had outside of the center.
So I feel privileged, guys.
Yeah.
Right? Seeing that, you know.
Utilizing lo poco que Arnold nos enseñó con el talento natural que tenemos el grupo y un poquito de, you know, my vision and boom. So my thing with this group is not just to dance.
And you guys got kind of contract, right? Like you guys gonna go there.
We have an official contract. Once a month, we're going to be performing at the same place. And this is just the beginning for us, you know. What's coming after is now it's time to educate the people in the group. Because that's another reason why people would accept a contract with no money, like just tips, because you don't know how special you are. So I want to tell everybody who I work with in the center, they need to learn about the culture. That's number one. Because we need to duplicate the amount of people who can tell us, not just Audrey. Every person, every dancer, every drummer, every employee here at the cultural center, I want them to, if somebody comes in and they want to hear something about the culture, you need to be able to talk about it. Because that's the reason why, one of the reasons why our culture is dying out. So this was
knowledge of our history.
Knowledge of our history. So language class, or actually escribiendo las canciones. And eso estamos. So we're starting with the folk dance group. Y vamos a crecer con diferentes initiatives, like the Garifuna language class. But poco a poco, right?
Yes. Wow, thank you, Audrey. Thank you so much for accepting this interview, for for opening the door of the Cultural Center for myself and the program. Estamos muy agradecidos en este día por hacer esta entrevista, por hablar con Audrey. Ella está haciendo pues un impacto en la comunidad. Y and you cannot come to Honduras without coming to Punta Gorda. You got to come to this cultural center. Tú tienes que venir. Hay comida. Hay comida. We didn't talk about that. Yo comí ahí rice and beans con pescado frito, aquí machuca. So, ustedes pueden venir. Si toman Gifiti, también tienen Gifiti. So, es un lugar que tiene todo. Y no solamente eso, sino que lo que es lo que significa, lo que simboliza, what symbolizes, what the significance of this place for us as a Garifuna. So Thank you. Gracias a todos ustedes por habernos visto. Sigan nuestra página y pues aquí está Audrey, que cualquier cosa ustedes pueden ayudar. Right?
You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Garifuna Cultural Center. Also, our website is Garifuna CC.